Hey everyone, welcome back to another YouTube tutorial. My name's Instant Name here. Today we're going to be making a loading screen, which actually allows you to play the game while it's loading. It's a pretty cool concept, and it was actually used in a couple older titles, but it's not seen today as much. So here I'll just do a demo, run into the third person or in the trigger, right? And then here's this loading screen. Now I added an artificial delay to it. It will actually load it will actually load the level, but because the level we're loading is so short, we added a fake delay to it. And he had loaded with a nice little fade, and now we're in the new level, which is really cool. So I'll tell you completely how to do this from the start, from the ground up. And yeah. But before we get into the video, I'd like to thank UNF Games. He made a video about this entire system, not the way you can interact with the loading screen, but he actually showed me off a way to make the loading process in Unreal Engine really easy. I made a video on it, it's super cool. I'll link it down below. And also, I'd like to thank my subscribers, because I'm 100 subscribers right now, which is really shocking. I thought I'd be on 2 at max by the end of my career. I'd probably have left at 2 subscribers, but no, I sticked here. Now I'm at 100 subscribers. So thank you very much. And without further ado, let's get into the video. So here we have the basic third-person BP. Nothing really interesting about it, just a template. But there's something I did change, right? If I open the content browser, you'll see, we have 3 levels. This is the first level, it's just the one that's included with the third-person preset. And when you go to last level, this is the level we want to load at the end. And this is the loading level, right? It will just open, yeah, there. And this is where the player will be when he's loading the last level, right? So, for us to set this up, we actually have to make a trigger that will actually load the levels, right? So, we'll go to our first level, right? And we're just gonna go to our content and then right click, create basic asset blueprint class, click actor, and we want to name this level trigger, because this will be the thing that actually changes the level, right? You just open that, and then at the top left here at the components tab, you just want to click add, and add a box collision, which will kind of act like a trigger, so you can name it trigger. And then you want to go to your details panel here at the right side, just scroll all the way down, and you'll see this event on component begin overlap. Just want to hit plus on that. And I've done this in 2 of my previous videos. So what you want to do is you want to left click while you're holding B on your keyboard. This is the shortcut for a branch node. It's very helpful. Then you want to drag in the execution pin. And this condition, right? We want to check if it's actually the player in the collision trigger. So you just want to take this condition and connect it to an equal operator. Then the other actor has to equal the get player character. So it will check the player character, and then it will compare it with the actor in the trigger, and then if that's true, the player's in the trigger. Now, even though this is the basic setup we need, you'll want to compile and save. And just take this window, you can hold it in, and just dock it to the main window. Because we're actually going to make a game instance. This game instance will hold all the spaces our player wants to spawn in another world. It's pretty important. What you want to do is you want to control space for the content browser. And then you want to right click in the content browser, go to the create basic asset blueprint class. And then you want to click the all classes, and you want to search for game instance. You can name this whatever you want. I'm just gonna name it custom game instance. And you can just open that right now, in fact. we're gonna add a variable. You can name it player spawn transform, and this will be where the player spawns in the newly loaded level, right? So the variable type you want to change to transform. Let's compile, save. Then we can actually go to this top left the corner of the window. There will be an edit. Just want to click that and go to your project settings. And then you want to look at this project. You want to go to maps and modes. And this game instance class, we want to replace it with our custom game instance. When you're done with that, you can just go back to the level trigger, and at this branch node, we're gonna drag off the true and create a cast to custom game instance. So we can actually assign the transform, right? So you want to drag off the object node, and you want to make a get game instance node. So we can get the current game instance, which is the custom game instance. And this as custom game instance, you just want to drag off this and have a set trans. You can just search, actually, you can just search for transform, yeah. And then you want to click on set player spawn transform. And we want to set this, right? So you can just go to the top part of the custom game instance node. Just drag off that. This player spawn transform, you want to drag off of that and promote to a variable. And you can just rename this a bit. This player spawn transform, you can name it next level player spawn transform. That's perfect. So this means you can actually assign where in the world the player wants to spawn in the next level he loads in. You can technically hook up a system with player starts, and it's kind of messy to work with it, but I'll link a video down below that explains you how to do it if you want, because it really has a big payoff if you're gonna have tons and tons of levels. But for now, we're just gonna do the transform thing. And this set, you want to drag off its execution pin, and I believe it's load level. Actually, no, it's open level by object reference. Then this level you want to drag off and promote to a variable. You want to name this level to load. And this is practically what level we want to load, right? We're not gonna put anything in it yet, but I'll explain to you how we're gonna handle this very soon. Okay, but you see here at the variables tab, you want to go next to each variable and tick on the I, which means it's a public variable, and it can be adjusted anywhere in the editor, which is precisely what we want. Now before we actually write the game loading or the loading logic, I want to explain something with a graph I created, right? Or image to explain how we're gonna handle the level loading. So how are we going to handle our level loading? Well, it's simple. We're gonna use persistent levels. A persistent level is a level that's always loaded. No matter what, that level will not unload the contents of it unless we tell it explicitly to go load a different persistent level. So each level will have a version with a loading screen attached to it. How we're gonna handle that is the original level name might be m_map, but we're gonna make a persistent level version with the name m_map_p. That _p is actually really important, as well as spelling the names correctly for the duplicate. The reason why we're doing this is it's just a bit easier to sort than having a million sub-levels. I found sub-levels very hard to work with once you have more than 5, then it gets pretty messy to work with. So this is the system we're going to be using. I don't expect you to really understand this, right? Because it's kind of weird. But if you actually see it in action, you'll understand it very quickly. So we'll just go back to Unreal Engine. And this open level by object reference, we're not going to handle that now. We're just going to compile and save. What you want to do now is you want to go to your loading level, yeah. You want to go to your levels. You want to go to your loading level, right? The first thing I would recommend with a loading level is you take all the objects and move it low in the world. The reason for this is because it will be in the same world as the final level you load. So you kind of want to keep it visible while it's deloading, or kind of not keep it visible, right? And yeah, that's about it here. Now we want to go. And you want to go to the top left of Unreal Engine. And you'll see this window. You want to click on that and click on levels. Now mine is docked here at the top right, but yours probably spawned in as a different window. And you have this persistent level, right? You'll see this open level blueprint button, right? I want to click that. And this event begin play will play every time the loading level is loaded, right? This is important, because this is how we're actually going to load the levels. So in event begin play, you want to load stream level by name, right? We're just gonna drag this out quite a lot. This is how we're gonna do it, right? The level's actually gonna look at the persistent level and cut off 2 letters of the end of the name. So it's gonna cut out the P underscore and load the level name, which is what we want. And how we're gonna achieve that is we just want to go on this begin play, right? Then you want to get current level name, yeah. And this return value you want to take and you want to chop or left chop it. And this is important that you set the count to 2, right? This is really important. You want to plug in the return value, and it's going to create this node that converts a string to a name. And this make visible after load, you want that. Just compile and save. And this is just the basic level loading for now. This will actually load the level when we get to it, right? So how we're gonna test this is we're gonna compile, save. We're gonna show you, or I'm gonna show you the thing we're gonna do now and how you should set up your levels. So we want to load m underscore last level. So to do that, we want to right click, create a new level, and we want to call this m last level. The spacing has to be correct. If it's in the same folder, it should pop up this warning. That's really good. Then you want to underscore p for the persistent version. I just want to open up the persistent version, and it should be pitch black. There's nothing here, and that's perfectly fine. You know this levels tab we created or opened? You want to go to those levels and click down on it and add existing levels. So you want to add your M loading level, and you want to add your M last level. And how this is going to load, right, is we're gonna make every time the player loads the persistent version, it's going to load the level, and then it's gonna take the persistent level's name, and it's going to cut 2 letters at the end and load the original level. Now for that to work, you just want to go to the M loading level in the levels tab. You want to right click that, right? And you want to change streaming method to always loaded. So the last level will not be always loaded, but the loading level will load every time the player comes to the level, which is what we want, right? So if I go to the blueprints, just make sure everything is fine. It will get current level name, we'll get the persistent name, cut 2 letters off at the end, and load the actual level. So we can test this by compiling, saving, and then what we can do is we can actually go to content and go to levels, and we can go to our first level, right? And save selected. Now we can take our level trigger and we can go and we can scale this up. Yeah. Awesome. And the thinness. Now this level's to load. You have to choose the last level P, the persistent version, for every level you want to load. Now if I hit save, and I hit play, and I go into, you see awesome when the loading level. And if I press F8, we'll actually see it loaded the level above here. But we didn't move to the new parts of the level, right? Which isn't good, so we're gonna fix that now. So you want to go to your loading level. So you want to go to levels, loading level, and you want to go to its blueprint. And this is where we're gonna do the magic, right? So firstly, we don't have to worry about the player spawning in a random place. He will spawn at the player start of the loading level. So just make sure your loading level has a player start. That's quite important. But after it's load streamed the level, we want to move the player to a new spawn location. And to do that, we want to go and we want to cast to the custom game instance. Want to drag off the object and get game instance. And awesome. Now this as custom game instance, we want to get the transform from it. So get player spawn transform. And then what we want to do is we're actually gonna go get player character and then set world transform. Now we're gonna choose the capsule component. Now what I love to do is I like to delete the capsule component and just straight up connect the set world transform, so it moves the entire character. So then you can just hook up this execution pin, and the new transform will be the player spawn transform we chose, right? So you just compile and save. And now we can test this again. But before we can test it, you want to go to your last level or last level P, it doesn't matter. And you want to go to where you want the player to spawn. So I wanted to spawn at this player start. So I'm going to grab its location by right clicking, copying. And then I want to go to our first level. And I want to go to this trigger that we created. And I want to go to the next level player spawn we've made, right? And I want to go to the location, paste, and save. Now, if I run into the trigger, you'll see, awesome, it loaded that level so quickly, but now we're in the new level. Or are we? Because if you remember how the level looked, if I go down here, you'll see the loading level still there. And the problem is the loading level has stuff that affect the lighting of this level. So we can fix that by, again, going to our last level P. And what's awesome about setting up this loading level blueprint, right, is you only set it up once, and then it just works from there, right? This is why it's a bit of a hassle to set up, but if we have it set up, it's going to go very smoothly. The set world transform. Now, when we've loaded the level, we actually want to unstream the loading level. So you want to take the execution pin, type in unload stream level by object reference. The reason we're doing this by object reference is we'll always want to unload the loading level. There's no two buts about it, just we want to unload the level. Now if we go now and we go to our first level, and we run through the trigger now. Now the lighting is perfectly fine, loading level is gone, nothing's wrong, and there we actually have the basic system up and running. You can go into multiple levels now, and all you have to do is you have to make a version of that level, a persistent version, right? Just open it and add the loading level, last level, and you want to make the loading level always load. It's the same setup for every level. But I think the cuts are too bad, right? I want a fade effect to happen when the player moves a level, because it just doesn't look good with all the cuts going on. I will handle the fading in the next part of this tutorial, which will in fact release at the same time this part does, so it'll be linked down in the description and also will appear as a title card, so you can go watch part 2, which will add a fade, and we'll just generally clean up the code a bit, and also just go over how to do everything again. So, thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the content, please subscribe, hit like if you liked the video, hit dislike if you didn't, and I really hope to see you guys in part 2 of this tutorial series. Good night, everybody.